Hi everyone and welcome to the Jeff Bullis Show. Now today we have with us Lee Goff. Now Lee and I are actually physical distancing. I stopped using the word social distancing because it's physical distancing because we're still socialising even though we are physical distancing because I don't want socialising to stop or even to be distanced. At any rate, welcome to the show Lee, and I'm just going to introduce you to my listeners. Now Lee is an entrepreneur who grew up in the deep south of America in a place called Mississippi, and you're sure a lot of you have heard about the Mississippi. And he grew it in a multi-million-dollar agency, worked his ass off, made it really successful with his partners, decided to, what he did was said, I don't want to work in the business, I want to work on the business. So he sort of set up management and structure so he could actually leave and retire. Sold it for quite a lot of money, enough though he could retire. But Lee had a little challenge in that he'd worked so hard and so stressfully that he had a massive heart attack when he was 43. So, welcome to the show, Lee. I'm looking forward to hearing your story and some tips on how to be successful and how not to be successful, because I think that's going to be woven into it as well. So, welcome to the show, Lee.
Thank you so much for having me, Jeff. I'm so glad to be on here, and I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, and I love the physical distancing instead of. I'm totally stealing that. I'm going to use that. So, I love that. So that's good.
Yeah, well, it's. I stole it from someone else, by the way, but it's okay, and they should be nameless because I've forgotten who they are. Because I have. Sometimes I forget things. That's what happens when you're over 50. In fact, when you're over 60. Well, yeah. So yeah.
Well, what's my excuse then? Oh, gosh. Oh, no. And I will tell you, we're marketers. None of us ever have any original thoughts. All we do is we steal from the people who did it before us and try to make it better is all we ever do. So.
Yeah, exactly. So, Lee, let's dive into how you all got into this crazy world of digital marketing and became an agency. So where did this all start? Did, you woke up at the age of 3 when your sort of consciousness was emerging and you went, I want to be a digital marketer or I want to start an agency. I'm sure that didn't happen, but some people want to be violinists at the age of 3 or it's thrown into their hands. So how did it all start?
Well, it really did start with me at a very early age. My stepfather raised me, but he's pretty much my father. He raised me from the age of 1. And so, and my grandfather was an entrepreneur. And so I was literally immersed into the small business lifestyle. And to me, it was normal. I didn't know that there was anything different. Right. And, my dad been able to come to my tennis matches and, just spend time with me. Right. Which is ultimately all kids ever really want, just to be able to spend time, with their loved parents and things like that. Right. And I didn't understand how valuable that was until I got a little older. But I knew at the age of 12 that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I started cutting grass in my neighborhood, and one of my he's still, as a matter of fact, he married into the family. He's a really good friend of mine. His name's Matt Parker, and he was a neighbor, and I think he was about a year younger than me. And boy, we got so competitive. We were price cutting each other. We were trying to race down the street and get there first. It was fun and competitive at the same time. And that's where I got a lot of that drive, just seeing my father have the ability and have the money to be able to kind of be there and support me with his time and his love, not just money, but with his time and his love. And then Matt Parker and some friends of mine having some friendly competitions and just kind of get snowballed from there. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you grew up, stepdad looked after you, or he really was your dad in the end. So did you grow up in Mississippi? Is that what it was?
I did, yeah. I grew up in South Mississippi, and so it's a place called Pascagoula, Mississippi. It is a shrimp town, a blue-collar town, and I eventually went on to college. I dropped out of the University of Southern Mississippi, never did graduate, and floundered around in jobs for a while, and then eventually I started working for a company in Oklahoma City.
Right.
And that company had hired a web development company to do a login portal for our clients. And our clients at that time were like Boeing and Armstrong. Multinational conglomerate,
yep.
Fortune 100 type companies, right? And so this company was writing this app for us. And one day we got to log in and there's this big yellow box with big red numbers about this big. And it was 25, 24, 23, 22, 21. And so we called them, dude, what in the hell is this on this? What is this? Yeah, when it hits 0, the whole system's going to shut down unless you pay us more money. Extortion, like literally illegal, like illegal extortion. And so obviously the CEO got his attorney and the cops involved and all that fun stuff. And at that time, his name was Brad. I was like, Brad, give me this project. I can totally do this. I've never written a line of code, and I still have it, and I never will. But I knew how to get it done. And so that's exactly how my first agency, GETUWired, got started. Is I took that contract over, I got the people on the project, and we rocked it out. And then the way I communicate, I don't communicate in techno. I communicate like a traditional small business owner. That really resonated with the small business community, and just kept going, just boom, 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 boom. Jump ahead 13 years. We're a multi-million dollar agency. I'm running it by the numbers, meaning KPIs. Work 2 hours a week. And then I sold it, and here I am.
So that was, you were about 43 when you sold it, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, right. So you sold it, what, about 5-6 years ago, was it?
Yeah, I'm 47 now. I sold it in June of 2016, and I took some time off. I actually had my heart attack the month that I sold my agency.
Wow.
So two of the biggest life moments you can ever have, right? Other than having a child and get married or, things like that, right? Happened in the same month. And I actually asked my doctors about that. And they said, yeah, that's pretty common, that whenever the stress releases in your body, and me knowing that I'm about to get paid, a lot of the stress just kind of releases out of your body. And stress acts like nicotine on your arteries, and meaning they contract. And whenever you start to release that stress, they start to open back up. And that's when you get those plaque bubbles and things like that burst. Right. And that's how you have a heart attack. And so it's interesting that, the transaction piece of that, what I would call the end of the rainbow piece, the piece that's supposed to be, what you work so hard to get to, right? Actually had a small piece in my heart attack. So I took like 6 months off, and, my mom came up, and I had my daughter, and just kind of took some time off, got my health and stuff back in order. And then in 2017, I started my coaching business, but I didn't do any promotions at all. All I did is just private consulting. And I put about $250,000 into creating content courses. Mm-hmm. It was a singular purpose, and that purpose is to make agency owners' lives easier. Mm-hmm. It's tough out there, man. It's just tough, right? And anything that I can do to make their lives easier is what I'm here to do. It is my calling. It truly is my life, purpose, passion, outside of my family and daughter, obviously. So,
right. So the experience, obviously you're going, I've arrived, I've got all this money coming to my bank account, I can sit back, rub my hands, go fishing, play golf. Was that part of the thinking? And with the heart attack, what actually happened? How did you know that you were having a heart attack?
Good question. I'm actually playing golf in Los Angeles. A buddy of mine, you might know him, Damian Zamora. You ever heard of Damian Zamora?
No, I haven't, no.
It's Damian and a couple other guys. They're pretty big ballers in the space, right? So I'm in Costa Mesa Country Club and playing golf. This is 7 o'clock in the morning out in LA, Orange County, actually. And had a biscuit. I don't know, had something for breakfast. And hole number 3, man, I'm like, dude, serious heartburn. I got some serious heartburn, and I kept playing. I kept playing, and got to about hole number 9, and I was like, man, this heartburn's getting worse, man. This is not getting any better. And I said, I'm gonna hold off for a few holes, and hopefully it'll get a little bit better, but it didn't. So about hole 11 or 12, I wound up going back to my room, and a wise man would have probably went to the emergency room at that time, but I didn't. I sincerely thought it was acid reflux. I thought it was heartburn. So it feels identical, by the way. You can't, from at least in my experience, you can't tell the difference. I mean, it literally feels identical. It's just really bad heartburn, right? And so I went back to my room and I didn't eat, and it got better. The pain went from like an 8 or 9 to like a 2. I'm like, see, I knew this was heartburn. I knew it. There's no way it was a heart attack. And so I go to bed. I wake up the next morning. I fly back to Atlanta.
Right.
Okay. And by the way, I had 100% blockage on the lower left ventricle, which is the one you see in all the movies, the one that actually does the pushing. I had 100% blockage on the LAD. That's the main artery that feeds that part of the heart. It's a true miracle. I'm not even kidding you. True miracle that I'm sitting here before you. Half the people who have a heart attack of the kind I had, is called a widowmaker. They never get off the ground. When they hit the ground, it's done. Half.
Right. Okay.
Another half die on the way to the hospital.
Right.
It is a true miracle I'm here. And that's one of the reasons I take so much passion and pride in trying to help. I don't want, there's no need to have to go through that much stress doing it. And I will tell you the retired part sucked. I will never do that again. The golfing and the fishing and all that fun stuff. I will never do that again. I will always be giving back to the community that has served me so well. So
yeah, that's really fascinating, because I heard an interview the other day, Tim Ferriss and the CEO of Tom's Shoes, the one that's given away 200 million shoes to. He actually walked away and retired for 9 months, and he went back.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, it's miserable. Don't ever do it. It's nobody at the age of 40. And see, here's the thing. I actually retired from my agency at the age of 40. What I mean by that is I was running by the numbers. And so I worked 2 hours a week. I'd go in every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, and I had what's called a leadership team meeting. And I had a KPI book. I don't have one in front of me here, but I have a KPI book, and we go through the book, and they're explaining why things are, and what's going on. And so my retirement was actually the last about 2.5 years I owned my GETUWired, my agency, and I tell you what, that nobody at the age of 40 is retired. Maybe in LA or New York or something, you might run across that, but you don't run across that very often in your average, just town across the globe, right? So, there's not people out there hanging out that are 40, 45 that are retired and just kind of doing their own thing. So it gets lonely, it's boring, and you can only do so many, little projects around the house and things like that. So, yeah. And that's when I dove in 2017 and I hired a full-time staff. I'm telling you, we sat in my offices for a full year, over 75, 80 tools. It's just everything that you would need to scale to a multi-million-dollar agency. So,
right. So really it's your passionate purpose now is to actually help people live a fulfilled life, build an agency without stressing out, and scale it without killing themselves, which is essentially what you almost did.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I was so driven that I didn't pay attention to the signs. I was in warrior mode, and it didn't matter how much I hurt and how much it just didn't matter. I just plowed straight through it. And I'm here to tell you, as one agency owner to another agency owner, please do not do that to yourself. It will catch up with you. Okay. Hire a coach, take some of that stress off, whether it's me or not. Okay. It doesn't have to be me, but if you hire a coach, make sure they've done what you want to do, but you must relieve some of that stress. It'll come to get you. And if you got little ones out there, like I did, okay, you will never get those development years back, ever. Okay, you will never get them back. Okay, and Jeff and you and I were talking about this. After they grow up, they get their own personalities. They're going to go do their own things. Parents are just not going to be as cool as they used to be. You will never, ever, ever, ever get those years back. And it's hypercritical to me to help owners still achieve their business and financial goals while not giving up on the quality of life and family time. It's literally why I'm here. So
yeah. Well, we're going to get into what some of your recommendations are to actually scale an agency in a minute. But I want to touch on that a little bit more in terms of what are some of the life skills that wrap being in business that you would recommend to people? You were driven, so you're working hard, you're working long hours, you're stressed, you must be doing 7 days a week or near to it. What are some of the things life skills that you think people should be aware of if they're going to, whether they're in business or whether because essentially at the end of the day, business is part of life, so it's really just life. So what are some of the life skills?
Yeah, they're the same thing.
Yeah. So what were some of the life skills you'd recommend now after having that interesting moment in time that made you pause?
Well, this one's a little bit funny, but it's true. Amnesia is the one thing all entrepreneurs better have. Okay? Because you're going to make a lot of mistakes and you don't need to live in them. You need to move on like they never happened. You're going to have a lot of people come after you. You need to move on like it never happened. Okay? Just amnesia is a good one. Again, that's kind of a little bit tongue in cheek there, but there's some truth in that for sure. But, at the top of the list would be and this one's a slippery slope, so I'm a little bit hesitant, but the delegation of ownership. Um, as entrepreneurs, we truly believe that we can do things better than other people. And the fact is most of the time we probably can. That's just kind of what makes us entrepreneurs, right? But taking on that level of ownership for everything in your business, at first, it sounds awesome and it makes you neat and it makes you wanted and desired and powerful. But it will eventually, it's a trap. It's a mousetrap. You will get caught in that and you will have a very difficult time getting out. So get some really solid people around you and delegate ownership to them and let them wow you with the results. Okay. I learned that from actually Eisenhower reading one of his books, one of his leadership books. And it's so true. Another one would be just do the right thing. In other words, a lot of people are, one thing that drives me nuts is this fake it till you make it kind of scenario. Okay. I'm sure I know you've heard this, and that comment was around when we were growing up, but it wasn't, it's not like it is now, meaning, do the right thing, stay above the line. People will endure themselves to you out of honesty.
Yep.
Okay. And integrity and ethics. And you want the type of relationships that will stand the test of time in both business and personal. And when you fake it till you make it, or you get those fake photos in front of Lamborghinis or fake PayPal checks, whatever the hell it is you're doing out there, people know. Okay. They might not know right out of the gate. You're going to probably pull the wool over a few people's eyes, maybe even a lot of their eyes. But eventually it's going to come back and it'll get you. And one of the most common ways it gets you is the fact that the next time you launch a product, nobody trusts you. So you can't do it. You have to reinvent yourself literally every 3 to 5 years. And in the info marketing space, you've seen it, Jeff, your brand is you. Your brand is you. You don't go brand some cheesy product that is dead in 3 years. You got to reinvent everything Jeff Bullis is. What makes Jeff Bullis so awesome is that Jeff Bullis is sincere. He is authentic. And by the way, I've known Jeff for I think about 3 years now. We worked together a few years ago, and we don't. It's not like we talk every day, but you obviously get to know the character of a guy whenever you work with him through a campaign, and you did the right thing again, even when nobody's looking. You went above and beyond. I think we negotiated a deal last time, and not only did you give me that, you gave me a couple other things, and that didn't go unnoticed. That's why I reached out. Hey man, can I get on your podcast, and vice versa, right? So. That's how you build those type of relationships. Exactly. And those are the things that count. That's what counts long term. So.
Yeah. So what about things like obviously, if you don't look after your body and your mind as well, what are some things you do to look after your body and mind as well?
Definitely meditation and quiet time. I get out every morning and do 30 minutes of quiet time, meditation, praying, kind of thing. And the one thing that I really, really did not take care of was my health. I'm better about it now. Old habits are hard to break, growing up kind of thing. Eat organic and cardio. I'm going to tell you right now, the more organic you can eat, the better, the cleaner your arteries, everything will be, the cleaner your mind will be. And make sure you get out there 30 to 45 minutes of intensive cardio. Just take care of yourself, man. Mind, body, health, it is what it is. And get out there and just take care of yourself. So.
Yeah. Well, I used to be a runner since I was the age of 12 because I had asthma as a kid. And so I got into the habit of running at the age of 12 and really never stopped. But then in the last, about 12 years ago, I actually transitioned into road cycling. So that's my 30 to 40 minutes of exercise, along with just a good, solid exercise, keep moving. So I live next to Sydney Harbour, so I go for lovely walks, morning and night, actually.
You know what? That actually, just staying active. Just keeping what I call I have a term. It's called, I have Leisms, and we use them in my coaching all the time, but it's called forward movement. I live on the lake here. It's not as cool as Sydney Harbor, that's for damn sure. But it's a very active type lifestyle kind of thing, parks and skiing and tubing and kneeboarding. And that has a big, don't stay stagnant for too long anywhere. That definitely helps a lot as well.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Thanks for those insights, because I think it's important people understand that life doesn't stop because you've got a business. We can be dragged into the vortex that can be deadly, as we both heard and we both understand. So you've gone in and want to do okay, this coaching course, and you've created around the 4 pillars, and I think maybe it's time to actually go into that. So you've had your come to Jesus moment, as we might say.
Literally, yeah, like literally.
You decided that what's important, and you're going, okay, I need to make sure that other people look after themselves and their business and do it in a sustainable way. So let's dive into the 4 pillars that is a structure you've given for people to grow
Sure.
their agency business. Let's dive into that. So, Wago, let's hear from Lee about how it works.
Okay. Okay. So, well, we have what's called, all right. So I'm going to start with a quick little story here. In 2008, I learned a very valuable lesson. I think we all did. Anybody in business at that time, we all did. Meaning, you know what, you better optimize, you better reload your business when things are kind of down, right? In other words, you don't just sit there and wait for them to reopen again. You reload, you get better. Okay. Yep. And that's exactly what I just did with my coaching business. And during COVID right here, I completely reloaded everything, brand, product lines, and everything because of all the learns that I got over the first 3 years. And as a result of what's called the reload program that we're kicking out, there are 3 primary components that all agencies must get in place. You must have an agency sales system, you must have a service framework, and you must have a leadership, including KPIs framework, okay? Now, in that, let's start with sales, okay? We have the 4 pillars of a successful sales system. And out there in the agency world, I have to admit, I did not know how big of a deal this was, but they don't have sales systems. They just, they just kind of do friends and family referral, and some of the more advanced ones do have some basic lead flow and some basic sales system, but they don't have what's called a close the loop automated sales system. Okay, so let me explain kind of what that is. There's 4 pillars to it, okay? Pillar number 1 is what's called your lead magnets. I think we're all familiar with your lead magnets. What makes our system a little bit better, in my opinion, a little bit better, is we focus our lead magnets around what's called pain points instead of features and benefits, to where a lot of people kind of have a tendency to make that mistake, okay? If you focus your lead magnets around the pain points, you will harvest substantially more, okay? And we'll coach you exactly how to go about doing that. Time-bound, precise, and simple. And that's the formula we use to write a lot of those lead magnets. You have to be able to create them very, very quickly. And the reason you have to be able to create them very quickly is because you're going to be testing them out constantly, okay? This is not like you build out some perfect, magical little lead magnet and everybody's going to just love your design or love your copy. That's not how this works. This is simply not how it works. You will throw 10, 12, 15 lead magnets up against a wall, see which one picks, which one resonates, okay? And then go back and just really dial it up and take it to a whole new level. But don't put that much level of effort or energy into a lead magnet and a system until you know it works.
Yep.
So that's why you have to be able to create these things very quickly and deploy them just as quickly, okay? And now tip number 3 under pillar 1 is what's called prospect vetting. So when someone opts in to get these lead magnets, the way my system works is you will literally double and triple your lead flow overnight by diversifying your lead magnets and focusing on the pain. Well, that is really good and really bad. You don't want to spend a lot of time with tire kickers. So how do you determine who's a buyer and who's a tire kicker, right? And so you have to have a smart system that recognizes and gives them some simple steps, actions on their own that they can take. And if they take those steps, then they confirm to you, based upon their actions, that they're a hot lead and they're worthy of your time, okay? So you have to have a prospect vetting process in there, okay? So that wraps up pillar number 1. And so just to recap, pillar number 1 is you got to bring the pain, you got to be able to do it really quickly, and you better be able to weed out the tire kickers, okay? That's pillar number 1. Now, pillar number 2 is what's called lead harvesting and a call to action management system. Now, lead harvesting is, a lot of people are like, what the hell is that? They don't know what they're like. What is that? So if you have a call to action management system, and these tools are relatively new on the market. I'm not talking about a web form from a CRM or anything like that. I'm talking about this is actually in WordPress or in your content management system of whatever you're using, and you can deploy lead magnet, like call to action, sliders, ribbons, exit intents, any number of things. That there's about 12 different types you can use, and you can deploy them based upon the content on the page. So if you have a blog article around how awesome Jeff Bullis is, and you have a lead magnet, Jeff Bullis's top 10 ways to dominate social media or whatever it is, it's not rocket science to put that lead magnet on that page. Duh, right? And so whenever you can agile, it's just called having an agile CTA management system. You create these lead magnets, and then you put them into a dynamic, agile content call to action management system, and you're literally deploying them boom, 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 all over the place in different content sections. And you do it on your website. You do it great. I've seen, and you know this stuff, right? And if you do that, I'm telling you right now, your conversions will go through the roof. You've done this, and you know the power of delivering the right content at the right time to someone who's reading something about that. So, and then of course, you need to be testing and targeting, constantly split testing and targeting your content to the precise person on that page, and having an agile I keep saying content management. So CRM, right? But and having that CTA management system, it allows you to do that without having that agile call to action management system. It takes forever. It takes just too much time. You can't do it. Too much labor. But with this, in a matter of 10 minutes a week, right? Literally like 10 minutes a week, you can go in there and say, boop, 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 determine what's working, what's converting, what's not. And you start to paint a picture. Oh, okay, that's doing that. And here's another page with similar content. I'd be willing to bet if I take that and put that over here, I'm going to get to double up on the conversions on 2 pages now, right? And all these things, they pop right off the page at you. But without a call to action management system with reporting, you would never know it.
Yep. Yeah, so this is where automation becomes really important, isn't it, in terms of what the technology allows us to do today?
That part's not 100% automated, but it does lead to pillar number 3, of which is automation. So yes, it leads straight into the automation piece. And so what happens is let's say you're delivering this lead magnet, Jeff Bullis's top 10 ways to dominate social media. They opt in. They give you your first name and the email address. Okay. Standard, what everybody does. From there, you bounce them over to the prospect vetting process. And we have a precise process we put everybody through. And so they'll answer a few questions, and they'll go through this. It's 2 steps. It's super simple. Now, if they complete that prospect vetting, okay, what happens then is they got the name and email. So automation's already going. Top of mind, brand penetration, all that's already going. Only if they give you the phone number does automation create a deal or an opportunity in your pipeline and set up even pipeline automation. So you have a smart system that's delivering content to the right people at the right time. You have a smart system determining whether they're hot or not. Okay. And you have a smart system that if they're hot, it's setting everything up on a T that you need. The value in all that is that one sales rep now can do triple, if not quadruple, the productivity that they could do with that before having a system like this. And it's unbelievably powerful. Unbelievable. It's a game changer, absolute game changer. And of course, the most important part of any automation piece is that you eliminate follow-up failure. It is the 800-pound gorilla in almost every single small business. The day you eliminate follow-up failure is the day you take the first step to being a true successful business. Okay, meaning that you get that contact record in that database, and no matter what, your imprint. So, once or twice a month at least, preferably more, you're getting your brand in front of them. High value, newsletters, education, things along those, and you do it brilliantly. And so just eliminate that follow-up failure, remain top of mind in your prospects with automation, and you'll see substantial increases in sales.
So pillar 3 is titled?
Pillar 3 is titled Automation and Pipeline Management, and that's what we just covered right there. Okay. And then and pillar 4 is going to be your KPIs. You got to be able to track successes and failures. And in the past, KPIs was a nightmare to harvest all of that stuff. You had to go 42 different systems. Things are all over the digital earth out there, right? Well, in a closed the loop system, it all becomes actually very easily. The system does it for you automatically. The only thing you have to do is make sure you track revenue in there. If you take credit cards, it does it for you automatically. Now, if you take a check, then you have to manually go put that in there. It takes you, 5 seconds to go in there. It's ridiculously simple. The minute you
what's that? Do you use checks? Do you? I haven't seen one for years.
I haven't seen a check in so long, but a lot of people do that. They don't want to pay the merchant fees, of which I think is penny wise, pound foolish. But you know, I get the money instantly. I pay 3%. I don't have to ever do anything again. To me, that's the best 3% you'll ever pay for in your life. But and so the way this system is built is as soon as they opt into your lead magnet, it's assigning a lead source. It's setting all the KPIs up for you. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you get this real-time KPI dashboard, and it's gorgeous. I'll send you a screenshot. Maybe you can put it in the case notes, the podcast notes. Yep. And it literally will tell you all subscriptions, gross revenue, individual products, you know, it has your opportunity pipeline in there. You click on it, it pops everything up. It's all in one clean, concise KPI performance dashboard. And therefore you can track where your money's coming from, because us entrepreneurs, you know, if I pay to go sponsor anything, a sponsorship, an event, and then I get back home and I close 5 deals, in my head as an entrepreneur, I'm assuming that all 5 of those came through that event. The reality is that 4 of them probably did, but the 5th one probably came from something you did a year ago. Okay. Yep. It's just the way it works. And so if you can't associate that numbers back accurately to the lead sources, then you don't know where to go. And I tell you what, let me give you a prime example. This guy right here, right? We did this promo together a few years ago. I can't remember, you know, I don't remember what the hell the topic was right now, but I think you drove, I think it's about 350 or something. You know, you performed. You did exactly what you said you were going to do. And then afterwards, I was very disappointed in the actual immediate sales. Okay. And it's not your fault. That was my fault. My messaging was off. It was my fault. My messaging was not in alignment with what it just wasn't. One of the first promotions I did was with you. I was a very rookie at this. I made a ton of mistakes. Jump ahead 2 years. I'm looking at my KPI dashboard and I see Jeff Bullis. And I'm like, holy shit. Boom. I mean, it went through the roof. So, and I don't know exactly when it happened, but at some point in time, over the next year or two, some of those 350 contact records that you drove into my system came back, and, you know, they got different things. You know, they got whatever it was, right? They got different on-demand or one-on-one or whatever it was. And I can't remember. I want to say that lead source drove, I don't know, about $15,000 to $20,000 in revenue, which is really close to about a 10x return. And that is, you could never ask for. That's exactly what we all are looking for, right? So, and so that's, you know, there it is right there. So without that, I'm telling you, without that dashboard, you and I would not have had another conversation. Well, that's true. It's so true. Yeah.
Well, I would have had a conversation with you anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Well, no. We'd totally had a cold beer. I'm all about that. But I mean, yeah, no doubt, I'm all about that. But you know what I'm talking about as far as...
I know. Yeah. Well, it's where the rubber hits the road. And I think that's the interesting thing you mentioned in that is that people quite often take a short-term approach to lead generation and business. They're not playing the long game. And you're tracking you're tracking actually the long game, which is actually really, really fascinating. And it's something that I really struggle with, because people go, we didn't get 5 sales today.
That stuff drives me nuts, man. I swear to you, to this day, I still have people coming to me, I'll give you $2,000 for a promotion, but I better get 10X in 48 hours. And I'm like, see you later. I don't even know what to tell you. You know what I mean? That is a ridiculous. Now, granted, you can go out there and do that in some flash in the pan kind of scenarios, and you will be doing it again in 12 months. My strategy, the long game, is it's a constant churn.
Yeah.
If I'm putting 350 from you, I'm doing about 250, 300 from just my organic efforts, not including other referral partners. I'm dumping 500, 600, 700, 800 leads into my system. I'm sorry, I was before COVID, and I will be again coming up. Dumping 500, 600, 700, 800 leads into my system every single month, right? Yep. And it just churns. It just constantly churns. Every month, 3, 4, 5% of those will bubble up. They'll get a book or a course or whatever, however it manifests itself. And you just got to constantly churn. And that's the machine that I was talking about. You know, once you get that machine going, okay, that machine will run for you. And that is how you create independent, personal time and financial independence.
So tell me a little bit more about the sort of the business model you have. So you've got obviously an education course, and you've got coaching. Can you tell us, how do you engage with your clients?
Well, we have, over the years here, we've been trying to really dial in our product line to satisfy all aspects of the agency success journey. And there are 4 primary phases of an agency, of a freelancer graduating into agency, and then eventually coming into what I call a small to medium business, up to about 10 million, okay? So the first phase is what's called freelancer, right? That's about 0 to 100,000. You typically got 1 to 2 kind of part-time contractors, no real leadership team. pretty much live and die off of the, you know, the Upworks, the Fivers, friends and families, referrals. You pretty much live and die in that space, right? The next step is going to be what's called a successful freelancer. They're 100,000 to about $250,000. They typically have about 3 to 5, probably a couple of full-time, 2 or 3 kind of part-times. They're starting to get a leadership team structure. They might have one kind of lead source. In other words, they can go out and do organic social media or blogs or whatever it might be, and they're getting a few leads that way. But they still rely pretty heavily on Upwork and friends and family and all that kind of fun stuff. Then from there, you get to what's called this small agency. That's going to be the $250,000, 350,000 right there, up to about the $1.52 million. And, you know, everything kind of just grows a little bit more. You got about 20 employees, 15 to 20 employees. And then anyway, long story, it just keeps going. You're going to have maybe 1 to 2 dedicated lead sources that you can actually go pay and turn on and scale up and scale down when you need to. You've got your friends and families kind of dialed in. Your leadership team it's there, but it still needs some structure. And at this point in time, it's really all about, I don't want to use the word clone because a lot of people think they want to try to hire somebody like them, which, by the way, will be one of the biggest mistakes you ever make. Do not do that. How you replicate yourself in a business is not to go out and hire someone like you at all. It's exactly opposite of what you should do, actually. How you replicate yourself in business is you create systems and processes to take over the stuff you did. That is how you build and scale a business, okay? You should think systems, processes, automation first. If you can do it through that method, any of those methodologies right there, always do it through one of those 3 first. Then, if any of those work, throw labor at it. But don't throw labor at it first. Throw systems, processes, and automation at it first. Yeah. And so, that's it. So just to be able to kind of get out there and kind of replicate yourself through systems and processes. That's because in that small agency space at that $750,000 or 650 to about 1.2 is where you're starting to run up against the inevitable glass ceiling. And you never see it. You don't know why. You can't get past that hurdle. Your revenues, you just can't quite break through a number. And it's usually about 650 to about 1.2 million. They just can't seem to figure out, why can't I break through this number? They're working their asses off, fingers to the bone. They just can't make it through it. And I am telling you right now, the reason you can't is because you're doing too much. You did not delegate any ownership. You're probably interjecting yourself into projects when you should not be, okay? You need to trust your leadership team and put in systems and processes. That is how you break through that glass ceiling, okay? Yep. The fourth step in the agency success journey is someone that just really needs to take those systems and processes and dial them in to an elite level to get to that 8-figure mark. And everything at that level is very custom. That's where you're gonna need to really get a guy like me to come in and sit side by side with you and work on really get into the details of what's gonna take to fix some of these problems that you're experiencing, right? So it's almost always gonna be leadership, vision, mission, purpose, core, KPIs, things along those lines at that level that you really gotta get dialed in. So
essentially what you're saying, if you really want to get serious, you need to actually put in processes and procedures.
Unless you want to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week until the day you die, you must go get systems and processes in place. There's just simply no way around it. Yeah. Or you can do a quality of life business, okay? And I highly advocate this. I'm a big fan of this. A quality of life business is where it's just you and a couple of contractors, and you focus heavily on positioning elements so you can run your prices through the roof, right? And you can make $250,000 a year working 40, 50 hours a week with unbelievable positioning, right? So there's 2 different ways you can go about doing that. But if you want to scale your business, systems and processes is the path forward. So.
Yeah. I was interviewed a friend of mine Mike Plenner recently, who actually runs a company called My Catapult. And he actually takes startups that have actually done a proof of concept, have got leads, are getting some sales, and takes them from there. And guess what? The systems and processes.
It's 100%. Yep.
Yeah. So, and he's doing that for startups. And as we know, startups are a little bit Wild West. I've got a great idea. But at the end of the day, the magic really happens to actually scale with processes and systems. So,
another thing a lot of people have a misconception about scaling is that most of the time people who scale successfully have a very simple product line. It's very simple, like very, very simple, unbelievably simple. A lot of people try to do everything for everyone, a jack of all trade. They try to be everything to everyone, right? And I would advise you against that. I would focus your product line specifically around the pain points of your niche. Keep it simple. You should not have any more than 20, 25 simple but high value products. And that allows you to scale. I guarantee you, if your guy's going in there, he is trimming the fat in a big way. He's making it to where it's called time to close. He is getting that product line so streamlined with what's called positioning and value props, where they can really read a script, do this, and then sell something in a matter of an hour or less. I promise you, all these numbers are critical when it comes to getting a 10x return, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's going in there, he's trimming the fat, he's streamlining systems, processes, and making it to where he can take pretty much anybody off the side of the road, put them in a damn chair with some training for a week, and let them loose.
So it sounds like you've created a semi-lifestyle business as well, actually.
Well, for me, 100%. Yeah. No. For where I'm at in my life, I don't work any more than 35 hours a week, period.
Yep.
That's just not how it works. I don't know, some weeks, actually the past couple of weeks I have, because I've been getting ready for a big campaign that we're going to be launching. But for the most part, I don't work more than 35 hours. I have a 11-year-old little girl. So when I say that you don't get those development years back, I practice what I preach. I sold my company and pulled back to spend more time with her. That's her rooms over there anyway. But and that's what I do, right? So I have some Airbnb units and my coaching business, just a couple of different. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a crackhead entrepreneur. I can't, can't help myself. You know what I mean? I see a good opportunity and I go, right? So, but I am definitely in a quality of life business right now. I am not trying to scale. I'm not trying to conquer the mountain anymore. I got the T-shirt on that one. So
you did.
In my world, and then for where I wanted to go with it. So
yeah, well, it's fantastic. I think that's a good segue to maybe wrap it up. And but before we do that, thanks for sharing the story about what happened when you wanted to arrive. We thought you had arrived, and then the result of that, and then how you had to reinvent yourself. So Lee, how do people find you or even engage you? And so we can leave that with our listeners.
It's really easy. Marketingagencycoach.com. Can't forget it, right? So super, super simple. If you go to Google, type in Marketing Agency Coach, you will see me. I will always be 1, 2, or 3, typically. It'd be very rare when I'm not. I have a really cool Facebook group. I love that thing. It's so awesome. I don't know, about 2,500 like-minded agency owners out there. So Marketing Agency Success GPS group. YouTube channel, subscribe, make sure to ring the bell, right? So,
okay.
But marketingagencycoach.com is the best place to get started. So.
All right, cool. That makes it easy, and that's what we like to do, because it's all about making it as easy as possible and making sure you've got processes and systems in place. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So thanks, Lee. It's been an absolute pleasure. Great to see your smiling face again. Good to see you safe in Mississippi. And the physical distancing is obviously working, but the social distancing actually sucks.
It does suck, yeah.
Because we are socializing, so we're good. All right. Thanks, Lee. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Everybody have a good day.